All right, so I've held off for quite a while on making a video on these pipeline protests and all this kind of stuff. And I really don't know why I held off so long. I should have made a video before. But anyway, I'm going to make a video about it because it's pretty much the biggest story in Canada right now. And it needs to be talked about. And there's a lot of aspects to this stuff that's relevant. So I have a tweet pulled up here of Jason Kenney. Now, like I always say, love him or hate him, Jason Kenney is at least right on this issue. As a premier, I think he's doing an okay job. He definitely has a lot of stuff to improve on, but at least he's right on this issue. Anyway, so he says these are not Wet'suwet'en and supporters. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but anyway, they are Wet'suwet'en opponents. They are leftists engaged in illegal activity to thwart the democratic will of the native tribe as expressed by their elected government following years of consultation with their people. Now, from what I've heard, that actual specific tribe is perfectly fine with the pipeline going through. It's other tribes, or let's say they have, I mean, I know they have multiple elders that they consult when it comes to this kind of stuff, and from what I've heard, the overwhelming majority of them are fine with the pipeline going through. And one of the ones who was vocally against it, um, I believe, was paid off 50 grand by the Tides Foundation. So to say that a lot of these people that are against it are are having honest and objective opinions, I don't believe that. And for the people that are like, oh, well, the other side is paid off by the big oil companies, well, provide evidence of that, because that's something I really can't stand about the left, is that they always accuse, people who are climate change skeptics of being paid off by big oil, but yet they've never provided any evidence. And I provide evidence all the time. And I mean, every single climate scientist is paid to have the opinion that climate change is this big, huge issue. The ones who are skeptics, which is a lot of them, um, they do risk losing their jobs, but at least they're doing honest and objective work. But the reason behind saying that they're all paid off is because if every climate change scientist came out tomorrow and said, yeah, climate change isn't an issue, well, then any honest and objective government would cut funding towards researching climate change, which means a lot of them would be out of a job. So we know for sure that that side is paid off, at least to some extent. Now, the extent you can debate, but it is to some extent. But yet, they always accuse the other side of being paid off, but yet provide no evidence. And like I always say, a lot of these leftist accusations, they're just projecting their own in group, what they do, because they're paid off, so they assume, oh, you guys must be paid off. So that's something that I really can't stand. But anyway, the other thing I wanted to point out too is that a lot of these protesters aren't even from the area. Like the one of the elders from this tribe even said that a lot of the she even said the direct quote was something like, a lot of these people aren't even from the tribe. They're I've even seen one of the guys that was arrested was an American. So it makes no sense that it makes no sense that. And the other big aspect to it is the fact that the RCMP refuses to step in and the federal government refuses to step in, and you've had cases of people breaking the law, that are part of the protesters, and yet the police are doing nothing. And their official, what they're telling these people is that my superiors have told me not to arrest these people. In other words, the federal government, the RCMP at the highest level, is clearly biased in favor of one side of the movement. And that's the big take home point of the video, is that, I mean, it's pretty much everything in society. Like, can we really think of anything where the media, the federal government, is biased towards the general right wing position? Like, I challenge someone on the left to find me an example of that. Like, I mean, I'm sure there is one, but I could probably think up at least 10 examples for every one that they can think of. So, yeah, it's crazy. And And you see these provinces in the east, some of them are running low on propane, and like you need to, I mean, a lot of places use propane to heat their businesses and whatnot. And this is kind of what's going on in Canada right now, is that the other thing I wanted to point out is that I think that tensions are going to continue to get more and more high in Canada until it reaches a tipping point. Now, I'm afraid that that tipping point may be mass violence. Now, I don't want the violence, but I'm saying is that if the government keeps allowing one side to run wild and do whatever they want, commit crimes, block traffic, I've seen several examples of people who need to get across bridges, certain roads that can't for their work. They can't work. They have to spend an extra, 30, 40 minutes driving every day to get to their work. And that, I mean, that costs quite a bit of money. And I mean, you claim to care so much about the environment. Those people are pumping out an extra quite a bit of CO2. But you never see a contradiction from a climate change supporter. Never. That never happens. But anyway, it's crazy. And like I say, I want to make this point that if we keep going down this road, there's going to be mass violence. And the media and the leftist governments are going to blame the right. Okay, that is what is going to happen. I would bet my money on it. Like it's like you always see at these in the states. You have these Antifa groups and these leftists that they'll provoke the Trump people, and the Trump people will fight back, and the media is like, oh, look at the violent Trump supporters. And please don't tell me that, oh, it happens the same on both sides. Like, no, it doesn't. Just last week, there was a leftist supporter that literally crashed his van into an area in Florida that, Trump, the GOP was registering voters to vote Trump, and he narrowly missed hitting people, and people could have died. And yet, was that national news? No, it wasn't. And that's terrorism. That's terrorism. You're preventing people from voting, and the media didn't care. And for all the people saying, "Oh, Trump's side is just as bad," are you honestly telling me it wouldn't be a national news story if a Trump supporter crashed his van into an area where Democrats were registering to vote? Like, please, please, spare me, spare me. I want both sides to be equally as bad, but that's the goal. But that's why I make these videos. But it's not happening because we're not allowed to talk the same way on when it comes to both sides. And that's kind of, like I say, just to sum it up, where we're at in Canada, that flat out lawlessness is going on, and the federal government doesn't care. The RCMP is going along with it. The mainstream media is going along with it. CBC has been caught lying multiple times about this kind of stuff, and nothing's happening. And like I say, I think part of the reason why the left does this kind of stuff is that they know the right is the more peaceful side. They know the right is the side that's less willing to use violence, because they literally are by definition. And that's why they do it. And I think that's why they always make fun of Wexit, because they know that, I mean, there is a pretty vocal minority that wants Wexit, but they know that's why they're so cocky about it. They know that we don't have the balls to go through it, and it's kind of embarrassing that there isn't more people that don't have the balls to stand up for themselves, because the left does it. Like the left, look at what they're doing for something that's completely BS. They have no reason to be doing this, and they're causing violence. And I mean, not any major violence, but blocking traffic is sorry, blocking traffic is about as close as you can possibly get to committing violence without doing it. And like I say, I think one of these times someone's going to be so mad that they can't get to work. Maybe they're living paycheck to paycheck, and they're going to be like, screw it, they're either going to let me through, or I'm going to run them over. And it's going to happen, and the mainstream media is going to be all over it, these radical right wingers causing all this violence. Well, you guys kind of had your chance to turn back and reconsider your position. So anyway, I could talk forever about this topic, but I don't want to make the video too long, so I'm going to leave it there. I'll probably make more videos about this